Charts, Chapter 3, Section 3.3. So let's have a look at what it says here for charts. So what are charts? Charts are just a visual method of displaying data. That's all a chart is. Specifically a scatter chart. What's a scatter chart? Well, a scatter chart shows the relationship between two variables. And that we looked at that in the last video. And how about a trend line? A trend line is just an approximation of the relationship between the variables. And a line chart is simply when you have a line and you connect the dots on a line. That's just a line chart. And it's useful for time series data. So let's look at an example here. This is an example for the San Francisco Electronics Store. And for a 10-week period, we have the number of commercials they air each week and their sales in hundreds of dollars for that particular week. So let me go over to the electronics data set, which is contained on your portal. And this is the electronics data set that you can open up yourselves. So let's start off by putting in a scatter plot. So to input a scatter plot for this data, I'm going to highlight the data. I'm then going to go over to insert up here on the top left. And then I'm going to come over to this one with all the dots in your charts area and click on this first one. And that actually gives me what the chart looks like. It's automatically put in a title for us. But why don't we tidy this up before we move on? So for example, why don't we change the chart title to a scatter chart for the San Francisco Electronics Store. So what we can do is we actually can click on that and just overtype it, or once we're clicked in this area here, and you see it says chart design up the top. So to get that to come up, just click on the chart and go over to add a chart element, and we want to add a chart title, and we want to add a chart title above the chart. So we can actually just put in here scatter plot for the San Francisco Electronics Store. Okay, that's good. What else can we do? Well, why don't we actually say what we've got on these axes as well? So again, if I click outside of here, can you see that I've now lost all the possibility to format this chart? If I click, watch how this ribbon changes once I click in here. You saw the ribbon changed, and I'm going to go to add a chart element and axis title. So let me put a primary vertical axis. Let me put a heading in for the primary vertical axis, and let me put sales in hundreds of dollars. Okay, so this is my like my Y variable. So sales, and I can put it's in dollars, put the dollar sign and 100 and little s. There you go. And how about down here? What can I put down here? I can put down here on the horizontal axis number of commercials. So again, I'm going to click on add a chart title, axis titles, and this is going to be the horizontal axis. And I'm going to put number of commercials into this axis here. Number of commercials. There you go. And so we've actually made the chart look a lot nicer than it was before. At least we make it read a lot better. Can we just move this over a little bit? Okay, and it reads a lot better than it did before. So that's how you do that stuff. Now, if you actually wanted to show the best fit straight line or the trend line, what the data seems to be trending, it seems to be trending upwards, doesn't it? It seems as the number of commercials increases, it seems that your sales do go up in a generally linear fashion. So if I wanted to find the general trend there, I can right click on any of these points, any of these blue points. So I just right clicked with my mouse, and then I'm going to go down to add a trend line or add trend line. And when I do that, we're going to get this open up over here. It automatically puts in a linear, straight line, but you do have different options, which we won't be working with these different options in the course. As I press on exponential, you see it curved it, logarithmic, it's changing the shape, polynomial, power line, moving average. There's different ways you can do it, but we're just going to go with linear for our purposes. So that's a nice little trick where you can actually get the best fit straight line through that data or find the trend for that data. And another little trick, it may be jumping ahead. If I go down to here, to this bottom area of the box, I can put display equation on chart. And if I click on there, if you notice, it just put this equation there. Just move it up to here where we'll be able to see it. It actually gave us the best fit straight line through that data as well. It's jumping ahead of ourselves, but I will mention this to you again as we move through the course. So the next thing we're going to look at in this section is the monthly sales data of air compressors at Kirkland Industries. So we have another spreadsheet which is called Kirkland Dataset. So let's move to the Kirkland Dataset. So this is the Kirkland Dataset here, which is available to you, and you can open up yourselves. So for this one, we want to add a chart again, and the sort of chart we're going to add in for this one is going to be a slightly different chart. It's going to be a line chart. So I'm going to highlight the data again, and I'm going to press Insert, and I'm going to come over to the one with all the lines, line chart. I'm going to insert a line chart with markers with those little dots in it. Okay, so I'm going to press on that, and there you go. Lo and behold, I get the actual chart for the data. Now I can go in, I can tidy this up as I did on the previous one, and I can put column headings into it. And let's see, I can just change this column heading rather than actually pressing add chart element and go to chart title and above chart or wherever I want to do it. I can just simply click here, and I can actually change it to line chart for monthly sales data like this, line chart for monthly sales data, and I'll just delete this piece on the end. Okay, there you go. So we've got that in there, and so it's tidied it up a bit. So this is a line chart, and as you can see, we can put sales in thousands of dollars up here. These correspond to the sales if you want. Should we do that? Yeah, let's do that. But we've lost the chart sign over here. How are we going to do it? We click on the chart. It's going to change our ribbon. So once we click on the chart, it changed our ribbon. So I can put add a chart. I want to add in a vertical axis. So axis, primary vertical, and it's added that in. I'm just going to put sales in hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars or whatever it happens to be in your case. So let's put in sales in here. So sales, and we can put in dollars and 100s. There you go. And you can put month down here if you want. You can, again, same process. You would make sure you hit the chart so you get the add a chart element, and then you're going to put your axis titles. This one's going to be a horizontal axis, and you press that, and then a box is going to open down here, and then you can press months if you want to. But it's fairly self-explanatory at this point, and that is months. Now, this is the line chart. We could have actually come up with a scatter plot for this. What would the scatter plot look like? Well, let's have a look. So this is the data, and let's insert a scatter plot, and just put it below, and you can see the difference between the line chart and the line chart with markers. The markers is with these dots, and basically it's connecting the dots. So this is actually found a trend line that connects the dots. It's kind of useful for several different reasons. It's got its drawbacks, but it's got its uses as well, which we can just briefly discuss now. This is the line chart does connect the dots, and it actually makes it easier to see what's going on. When I look at a scatter plot, it's a little bit harder to see what's going on, but when I've got a line chart, it's actually easier to see the pattern of what's going on with the sales for this company, for Kirkland Industries. So you can see the sales at the beginning of the year are at a certain level, and they pick up, and they pick up, and they pick up, and they peak in around April, and then they go down till around June, and then from June to July, they peak again to a higher peak than before, and then they start coming down and start leveling off and maybe to start the pattern again for the following year. So whatever, it may be a seasonal item that they're selling. I'm not sure if it's actually going to be seasonal. The product, sometimes a product may appear to be seasonal. You may think that like umbrellas are seasonal, and then you find out that they're not, because umbrellas are used both in the sunshine and the rain. So, but this gives us information that we can actually work with. So drawing a line chart is great because it shows us what's going on fairly quickly as opposed to a scatter plot. It's really easy to read what's going on, and it's easy to interpret. When you do a line chart, sometimes it's recommended that you actually leave the markers in, because the markers make you stop and think. And you say, oh yes, we don't actually have a continuous data without a break. We only have data at the end of each month. We don't have it for mid-March. We just have it for one point in March and one point in April. We only have 12 pieces of data. These are the data we have. So when we leave the markers in, it's kind of a reminder that we don't have continuous data. And we get the benefits of having the line chart. That makes it easy to understand. Okay, so there's going to be another example we're going to look at. That's in the PowerPoints, and there's an example here. Again, this is going to be Kirkland again, but Kirkland Regional. So there will be a data set called Kirkland Regional that you can actually find. And we're going to plot this data, and we're going to put line charts with markers in for this as well. So the way I'm actually going to plot this data is going to be like this. Now, notice that I didn't include cells. If you include cells, you're going to get something a little bit weird coming up. And, well, why don't I do it? Let me include cells. And I'm going to press Insert, and I'm going to go for a line chart with markers. And what's weird about it, when I include cells in there, it basically, the chart does this weird thing. It goes back to 0, which I don't really want. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that. And I'm just going to miss out the cells from the area I'm going to highlight. I'm going to press Insert. I'm going to press Chart, and when we do that now, you actually don't get this shooting back off to 0. And it's great. So this is again Kirkland Regional. It's got 2 regions of North and South, and great with the line chart as opposed to a scatter plot where we've connected the lines on the line chart and we wouldn't on the scatter plot. You can see what's going on. You can see it for the first few months of the year that even though the sales are higher in the north than they are in the south, you can actually see they're following roughly the same pattern, but something weird happens around here. The sales of the north fall and continue to fall, whereas those in the south rise and continue to rise. So just by looking at something simple like this, you may figure out that something's actually going on here, and you investigate further. You may find that's a natural phenomenon, that you would expecting this to happen depending on the product that you're selling and the region that you're selling it in. Or it could be that something's going awry. But at least it quickly focuses your attention on something that may need further investigation.